I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life. Donald Trump, New York Magazine, October 2002. All right. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Liberty Dad Podcast, a discussion on politics and culture. I'm your host, DL, America's most objective libertarian. If you're tuning in live, thank you so much for giving me your time so early. All right. So yesterday, I apologize. Today's show is what was supposed to happen yesterday at 7:30. If you missed my show yesterday with Larry Sharp at 11 a.m., go back, check it out. What I had intended to do was to have my 47 weekly as usual in the morning, and then at 11 have on Larry Sharp, and we were going to discuss Mamdani, Zohran Mamdani up in New York, the candidate for mayor. Well, when I set up the show for Larry so that we could promote it, I went back later and I was like, all right, well, let me set up the show for 47 weekly. And it was like, and Rumble was like, yeah, no, you can only do one. So until that one's closed, then sorry. And I was like, really? So in other words, I was not able to stream. I was not able to have one show like kind of like as a placeholder and then stream another show. So I had to do so. And if I had removed it, all heck would have broken loose because like everybody was already putting out links and everything. So wasn't, what just wasn't going to work. Wasn't in the cards. Universe, I guess, was like, yeah, no, not today. So anyway, today we're going to do my 47 weekly. We'll talk about it today. So there's that. Also, I might have gotten in a little trouble yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, you might be surprised. Liberty Dad sometimes gets in trouble. My producer pointed out to me that I'm supposed to make time for Rumble Rants. So I had 2 Rumble Rants yesterday during Larry's show. I put one on the screen. The second one, what ends up happening, there is a delay. So if you make a comment, there is a delay, just so you know. I don't know how long that delay is, and maybe I'll explore to kind of figure that out. But as I was clicking all the buttons to close the show, the second one came in, but it was kind of like, you know how you're starting to do something? It's like you're going to push a button and then you see something else. And then it's like, in retrospect, you're like, yeah, I knew it and I saw it, but things were already in motion and it wasn't good. That's basically what happened. So those 2 comments, number one, the Rumble Rants that came in yesterday, I will read them. I can't show them because they're from yesterday's show, but I can read them. That Liberty lady had said, 2 of my favorite Liberty mentors and podcast bros in one place, talking obviously about me and Larry Sharp. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I guess as a mentor, if so, I need to do a little bit better with the show then, shouldn't I? So I'm working on it. And then I think it was KG, I'm not really sure. One said, great show. Thanks for having Larry on. Thank you so much. So I'll just say this. Have a little patience with me, folks. I will do my best to correct any mistakes I make and then improve going forward. Now, let's get into today's show. As you probably heard, we aren't getting the Epstein files. Why? Well, I'm glad that you asked. The government looked into it, didn't find anything, and closed the case. Well, see, shortest show ever. Okay, no, absolutely not. We are not letting this one go. No way, no how. This is ridiculous. They literally, like, it's a done deal. Like, they're like, "Yeah, we found nothing. We reviewed the video. Here's some video with a 1-minute, segment left out." Like, and everybody's like, "Why is there 1 minute missing?" And they're like, "That's normal. Happens all the time." Like, wow. So, like, 1 minute happens all the time, and I'm not supposed to believe the conspiracy theorists that are like, "This guy didn't commit suicide?" How convenient is that? Right? I want you to think about this. Billionaire, very connected, alleged to have a worldwide sex trafficking ring. Um, how convenient is it that the video that originally wasn't there, but is now there, came out and showed, oh, nobody was in his cell except for this 1 minute segment that's missing, but don't worry about that. That's normal. That happens all the time. Oh, okay. That's pretty convenient. It's also convenient that the two guards, they got, they were initially charged with not doing their jobs, and then those charges were dropped. Okay. That's cool. Uh, what was her name? Maxine Ghislaine, I think. She was arrested, tried, and put into prison for apparently trafficking victims to nobody. And there's like 1,000 victims or so. There's like some insane number of victims, right? So you have the video footage that wasn't there, but then is there. You have the two guards who were in trouble, but now they're not in trouble. You have the mistress who went to jail, but we don't know anything about who she was dealing with other than Jeffrey Epstein. And then we have Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide, even though his brother was like, yeah, no, he didn't. Right? We have all this convenience. How crazy is that? So, what did Trump say about all that? Well, here's what he said. Let's take a look. Let's see here. Do. Oh, did I not? Goodness. I thought that. Give me just a second here. Folks, I made a mistake on something. Okay. So we will do. We'll play this. There we go. All right. Let's play it.
Sure. Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of his death?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Pam, could I just interrupt? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah.
This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Wow. Why would anybody, Mr. President, want to talk about somebody that has allegedly over 1,000 victims? Boggles my mind. Could not guess why people would be like, yeah, we're still talking about him. And every single detail like has some weirdness around it. Like we're not just talking about like, oh yeah, this thing happened and here's how it happened in other cases, blah, blah, blah. No, like, no, they're just like, yeah, video's missing. No, it's not. Here it is. Minutes missing. That's normal. Like, and then he's like spreading his like, he's like, well, I can't believe you guys are still talking about this. Okay.
Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Okay. So I find this kind of interesting. So Pam Bondi works for Trump. And he was like, he comes out and he's all like, "Oh, I can't believe that you're talking about this. What the heck? That doesn't even make sense. Like, why are we talking about this? This guy's a creep, blah, blah, blah." But, and he looks at his employee basically and he's like, "Hey, if you want to talk about this, go right ahead." Does anybody else feel like that was kind of planned? Like, I'll play bad cop, you play good cop. I'll say no, and then you give some answers. This feels like that's what it is. Like there's no evidence for it. But to be honest, there was no evidence, but it just feels that way. Let's listen.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that.
Okay. So it is a problem that people get taken out of context. Okay, that happens, and so sometimes people do need to come out and they need to say, "Hey, what I meant was this," and I'm trying to think off the cuff, like what kind of a situation, like how that might come across, but basically, you can sometimes be clarifying, and sometimes you clarify because you're trying to cover up. And I get the sense that that's what this is. Because when she did that interview, and we could go back, I don't have the interview, I should have pulled it up. But we could go back. Everybody at the time believed you, Pam Bondi, had the client list literally on your desk in a file, and that you were going to open it up and you were going to look through and you're going to be like, here's a client, here's a client, here's a client, right? And then we all believed that what you were going to do was redact any information, right? Like there's certain information that might be redacted. And I'll show you a video of what I had said a while back. So just hold on for just a moment. We'll continue playing this clip.
Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were.
Okay. Did you notice what she said? Downloaded. Now, the man has 1,000 victims or more, and he downloads the only videos that he has of the however many thousands of hours. They're all just downloads. Isn't that convenient? Oh, look, we get to say that he downloaded stuff, so we don't know where he necessarily got it from. We don't know who made those videos. We don't know, which victims those are. So now, if you didn't catch this, she has just said there is a different set of victims out there. So the man that's accused of running a giant sex ring, trafficking ring, we know, I mean, and it's been said by government officials, there's like 1,000 victims. And I think she's even said that. And so then you have this other set of downloaded videos who are going to be an entirely different set of victims. So this, in a way, makes it even worse because now we're being told, oh, this guy, he had something to do with about 1,000 victims, or it might have been 200. I think I've heard two different numbers, hundreds to somewhere around 1,000. Okay. I mean, whether it's 1,000 just makes it that much worse. 200 is still terrible. One is terrible. Okay. It only gets worse from there. And so now you have two separate groups of victims, and they seem to be conflating the two.
Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge.
Okay. So I probably should have stopped it a little bit later, but that's okay. She said, never going to see the light of day. We don't want to see those videos. Nobody is asking for videos of children being abused. What we are asking for is who is doing the abusing, and can you please get them, throw them in a deep, dark dungeon somewhere and forget about them. That's what we're asking for. We're asking for do you really want us to believe that a billionaire that had all the connections that he had and had been found guilty of inappropriate behavior with children in the past, like in 2008, I think he was convicted. Okay, so a billionaire got busted with actual real people. There's supposedly 1,000 victims, somewhere around there, somewhere between 200 and 1,000 victims, depending on which source you're listening to, right? And then the best you can tell us is we're not releasing these downloaded videos that he had. Nobody's asking for those. We want to know who is helping him. How does he procure 1,000? It was just this Maxwell mistress? No, there were other people. She knows it. We know it. It's like we know it without actually having the evidence, right? We know this because we look at all the evidence that we do have and we're like, that points only in one direction. Okay, now she's talking about whether he's a Mossad agent or not.
Knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that.
Okay, they won't. They won't get back to you. And look, Jeffrey Epstein died in 2019. Okay, August of 2019. So we're getting somewhat close to August. We're in the middle of July. But here's the thing. That's like what? See, 20, that's like 6 years ago. So in 6 years, you're telling me you still have to get back with us. Nobody in the government could brief the president, who's now been in office twice. Nobody could brief him. Nobody briefed you. Nobody anywhere. Like all this hullabaloo about the files and, SDNY, Southern District, New York, the federal department, they're holding on to it. They've got some bad actors there. Remember that story? Like nobody could say, oh yeah, we've already looked into that. Here's the details. They're not going to tell you that. She's just like, oh yeah, I don't know about that. We'll get back with you. Don't expect anything. Don't expect nothing. And you know what? The new media will probably not hold them any more accountable than the old media did.
And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video.
Okay, hold on.
That sounds like much of everything that the Americans would want to know.
Oh, hold on. Give me a second.
Victims, you're not going to know which.
Well, we got something going on here.
Okay, I'm just going to make up a name. Fred Jones was on the island, and he was presented.
I've got a video playing in the background here, and I got to figure out where it
You
is.
have to be this person, right?
Where are you?
Information because you've got a victim that you have to be concerned about, which is respectable. I get that, but then you also have the actual name of the person, the time and day that they were there. Who was with them, who knew about it. All of that could be jury information. If it's somebody outside of the U.S., well, that's related to national security. So I'm expecting that if we get any more documents, they're just going to be like pages and pages full of black line.
Okay, I don't know what happened there. But let me try to go back. I don't know why that was doing. That was weird. But let's go back. Okay, something was acting up. So let me get back here. Where were we? All right, let's get to the very end here.
So every night the video is reset.
Okay, so she's telling you. So let's back up here a little bit. So she is telling you now about the minute that's missing before we got interrupted by that weird wonky whatever.
And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
Okay, so if a minute is missing every night. You don't have to go looking for a video or even mention 1999. Although what I can gather, what it sounds like she's saying is since 1999, every single night when they flip things over, when they redo things, they lose a minute. And then so she's like, so we're looking to find, so we could show you that a minute's missing. Okay. You could do last night's video, the night before that. You could, if it's been since 1999, you've got thousands and thousands of videos, presumably that you've kept, that now you could go back and you could say, see, here's one, here's one, here's one. However, I will just point this out. It's not hard to like release some videos and then just edit them for a minute missing. So at this point, showing us video with the minute missing is not going to be very convincing. Not to anybody that actually pays attention and thinks about this for longer than 2 seconds. Furthermore, I just want to point out, if you've been losing a minute since 1999, you don't update any of your equipment. I mean, what are you working with here? You're still on VHS? Like you haven't moved to a digital system? I mean, how convenient, right? Lots of convenient things here. So let me play that video that I was going to play a moment ago. That started playing at least in my ear. I don't know if you guys were hearing it or not. So let me play this video because I think this is kind of useful. So boom, let's see here.
So they gave you the
Ooh.
reasons why things may be redacted. If it's related to the grand jury, if it's related to national security, and if it's related to the victim. That sounds like much of everything that the Americans would want to know, right? Because if it's related to the victims, you're not going to know which, you're not going to be able to tie and say, okay, I'm just going to make up a name. Fred Jones was on the island and he was presented with a gift from Jeffrey Epstein, who happened to be this person, right? And you're not going to get that information because you've got a victim that you have to be concerned about, which is respectable. I get that. But then you also have the actual name of the person, the time and day that they were there, who was with them, who knew about it. All of that could be grand jury information. If it's somebody outside of the U.S., well, that's related to national security. So I'm expecting that if we get any more documents, they're just going to be like pages and pages full of black lines.
All right, pages full of black lines. All right, and I said, if we get anything, I said this back in March. I was like, yeah, I'm not really expecting anything. And that was based on Pam Bondi. I think it was on her Fox News, but she was with Sean Hannity. And she basically said, she's like, look, we're gonna remove this information, anything that's related to this, you're not gonna get. And I'm like, well, that's basically everything. Right. Again, we don't want the victims. We don't want to watch the victims. That's not what we're looking for. We might want to watch the perpetrators burn. That we might want to watch, right? But we would at least like you to, I don't know, go after them. So back to Trump now. So Trump is like, why are you talking about this? So let's walk through history a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to play a couple of videos here and let me make sure that I got them set up correctly. Okay. Yes. So this is the first one. This comes from October of 2024. This is Donald Trump with Elon. Listen to him. I'm sorry. This is Elon Musk on Tucker Carlson's podcast. So listen to this.
Marionette with, 1,000 puppet masters type of thing.
Okay. So he's finishing off this conversation where he's talking about puppet masters for Kamala Harris.
Like or maybe it's somewhere north of 100 is what it seems like.
Yes. I bet 80 of them.
I probably know most of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just by virtue of your job and what you've been doing for the last 30 years, I mean, and I should say, I think you voted for Biden.
I'd like to see a matchup of those, quote, the top 100 puppet masters on the Epstein client list.
Do you think there's some overlap?
Strong overlap.
When are we going to see that list, do you think?
I don't know. It's mind-blowing that they've not tried to prosecute even one. Not even the worst offender on the Epstein client list. They have not even tried to prosecute even one.
Think about that for a second. Whoever the worst offender is, maybe they are the person that had the most victims. Maybe they're the person that had the youngest victim, whatever, right? There's somebody on there that's the worst. They're a terrible, awful human being. And they're still running around free. And this was in 2020. This was in 2024. Okay. So, and I'll tell you why we're kind of walking back through history a little bit in just a moment.
That's insane.
Well, because they have a lot of diabetic grandmothers who were outside the Capitol on January 6th. They're kind of occupied.
Yeah, I mean, they've put like whatever 500 or 600 January 6 protesters in prison, and not one person on the Epstein client list.
Why don't you think about that? Now, wherever you stand on the January 6th doesn't matter. Okay. I mean, I guess it kind of does because it'll make it either worse or less worse for you. So if you're the person that says, hey, none of them should have been arrested, then it just makes it worse that they were arrested and not even the worst person on Epstein's client list, which was being talked about last year, is even been brought forward. Like, we don't even know who that person is. Okay. But if you're somebody that believes that maybe they should have been locked up to January 6th, you should at least look and go, okay, these people are not nearly as bad as somebody that, you know, that abuses children in a sex ring, probably done it more than once, right? Like, at least in terms of vileness, if you agree that they should have been locked up, you should at least be able to agree and be like, yeah, but these people are even worse. And we should, if we can go after this group of people, we can totally go after this group of people. So no matter where you stand, you should totally take that and go, yeah, that is a problem.
Will that ever come out, do you think?
You know, I think part of why Kamala is getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
All right. So he was expecting the Epstein client list to go public, and he kind of hints at it. He's like, yeah, a lot of the people that are backing Kamala Harris, they're in some way connected to it. Either they're on it, right? Or they've helped facilitate it. At a minimum, they know about it. Something. They're connected in some way. That's what he's hinting at. Okay? So this it's not like it's not like nobody's been talking about this. That's all we've been talking about, Mr. President, repeatedly. Go back a month prior to that. Trump is on Lex Fridman's show, right? Here's what he had to say on Lex Fridman's show. Let's see, get that up here. There we are.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably.
Okay, so here we are. We have Donald Trump on Lex Fridman's show in 2024, in September of 2024. And he has now just acknowledged that there is a client list. And he acknowledged, in a sense, even if there's no client list, I mean, he didn't really say even if there's no, but he's acknowledging also that a bunch of people went to this island and did things that were no good, right? Like, he's hinting at this. Like, basically, I mean, it's one of those where it's like you're acknowledging it without explicitly acknowledging it. That's what he's doing. He's like, yeah, a lot of people went to this island. Luckily, I wasn't one of them, right? Whether he was or not, I don't know. Okay, so he's acknowledging this in September. Let's continue listening.
Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be.
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. You know, they do that for danger too, because, you know, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Okay, so he'd have no problem releasing the list. No problem. Okay, that's effectively a campaign promise, right? I mean, it's not standing up in front of a crowd of supporters and saying, I promise if you elect me that I will do this. But what it is, it's basically the same thing because he's like being asked directly, and he could have said anything else. He could have been like, "I'll have to take a look at it first and see, who's on it, what they've claimed to do, have done." He could have couched it in that way, but he didn't. He just said, "People went to this island. There's a list. I will be happy to release that list." Okay. Well, it's not released. All right. Here's this last one. This is Trump on Tucker Carlson's show in 2023. So let's take a look at what he had to say there.
It's just interesting.
Oops.
I read Barr's account of his time. He wrote a book about it,
Right.
his autobiography. And in it, he lies about Jeffrey Epstein's death. Clearly lies. Do you think Epstein killed himself sincerely?
I don't know. I will say that, he was a fixture in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
I don't know what Barr said about it either. I have no idea what he said. What did he say? He killed himself, probably?
He said he
Just that
killed
way?
himself and that they were going to do this investigation. They never did the investigation. It's never been
Yeah,
public.
well, he
And
didn't-
they hid it. And why are they doing that?
He
And
didn't
clearly
do-
Barr knew. But why would Bill Barr be covering up the death of Jeffrey Epstein?
Bill Barr didn't do an investigation on the election fraud either, okay? He said he did, and he pretended he did, but he didn't. McSwain, the U.S. attorney in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, said Barr just wouldn't let him do it. It was crazy. Barr became so petrified, so frightened of being impeached. They were going to impeach him. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah.
It's not a big moment in history. But they said, we're going to impeach. They play a much rougher game, the left, the lunatics. And they were going to impeach Bill Barr, and he was petrified. Now, how do you not get impeached? Don't do any of this stuff. But he didn't do the job there. I don't know what he did with Epstein, but possibly he didn't.
Do you think
do
it's
that.
possible that Epstein was killed?
Oh, sure, it's possible. I mean, I don't really believe. I think he probably committed suicide. He had a life with, beautiful homes and beautiful everything, and he all of a sudden he's incarcerated and not doing very well. I would say that he did, but there are those people. There are many people. I think you're one of them, right? But a lot of people think that he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
He was killed.
You think so?
I think the closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at all. I believe everything I hear. But yeah, the closer you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General, clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah,
And
he was.
Why?
He was certainly. It wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping, and a case could be made. Look, I'm not going to get involved in it, but I can tell you a case could be made either way. But it certainly.
Okay. Come on now. Like in 2023, he's on Tucker's show. And Tucker's like, yeah, I really believe it. And Donald Trump's like, yeah, I think he probably just killed himself. Like he believes, I think, this is my opinion, I think Trump knew all along. I think he knew. I think he has known, at least since that video with Tucker Carlson. Because that video in Tucker Carlson in 2023, they're talking about it. Tucker's making a big deal out of it. And he's like, yeah, your AG had some problems too. He didn't do the investigation that he was supposed to. And then Trump's like, yeah. And then he goes on some tangent about something else that's not really related whatsoever. But he comes back and he's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. He was a fixture. He had this really nice life and now he's facing all these years. He's just going to kill himself, which plausible, I guess. Right. I don't know how plausible, but as they like to say, the likelihood is how they say it's not zero. The chances of that are not zero. I think I said that correctly. All right. So in 2023, Donald Trump admits that he doesn't even believe that that Jeffrey Epstein was killed. He believes that he killed himself. Okay, fine. You can believe that. You were president already, so there's that, which means you definitely have connections to people. Okay, right? Like virtually anybody that you need, you can get answers, right? Even after the fact. But in 2023, he's asked about it. Then he's asked about it in 2024 in September. Then Elon and Tucker are talking about it on in the following month. People have been talking about it repeatedly over and over and over. Here's my theory. Donald Trump has known all along and had never had any intention of letting the American public know. Never. And I think it's all been delay tactics. I think we saw that in the first video there with him and Pam Bondi. And he's like, oh, I can't believe you guys are still talking about this. And then he kind of punts it over to Pam Bondi rather than saying, you know what? No, we're not talking about this. Because he could have said that, but no, he didn't. I think that was a game. I think it was basically staged. And he was like, hey, you answer these questions. I'm going to cast doubt. Why? Well, remember, and I don't have the quote in front of me. Remember that comment that Trump made years ago where he could like stand out on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and get away with it? Okay. And everybody's like, oh my God, I can't believe Donald Trump said he'll kill somebody, blah, blah, blah. What you should have been concerned about is what he was probably really trying to tell us, or we should have at least picked up on, is that he can say anything he damn well pleases, and many people in his base will simply gobble it up. They will accept it without question, right? And so when he comes out and he's all like, yeah, well, we still talking about this? I saw it all over social media. People are like, yeah, honestly, I don't even really care about it. There's much bigger fish to fry. No, there are not. There are not bigger fish to fry. Like, seriously, think about this. What bigger fish are there to fry than a global, not conspiracy, a global sex trafficking ring with all the elites, people getting killed right before they're about to testify, right? And then all of a sudden it goes away. And we're not supposed to, and now the government's like, can't even believe you're asking about that. Like, why do you care? I don't know, because we've been caring about it for years now. We want to know. That's why. One more thing. Let's put this up on the screen here. So I've got some articles here. So I went and I dug back into the annals of history. I think I got that comment right. Let me know in the comments if my idiom is not correct. So this is 2019, August 28th of 2019. Now remember, he supposedly killed himself on August 10th. Okay, so this is 18 days later. FBI studies 2 broken cameras outside cell where Epstein died. Source. Now everybody knows that, but here's something you may not know or you may not remember. We're going to read through it here. All right. So 2 cameras that malfunctioned outside the jail cell where financier Jeffrey Epstein died as he awaited trial on sex trafficking charges have been sent to an FBI crime lab for examination, a law enforcement source told Reuters. Epstein's lawyers, Reed Weingarten and Martin Weinberg, told U.S. District Judge Richard Berman in Manhattan on Tuesday they had doubts about the New York City chief medical examiner's conclusion that their client killed himself. All right. We're going to get down here. Here it is. The cameras were sent to Quantico, Virginia, site of a major FBI crime lab where agents and forensic scientists analyze evidence. Oh. The cameras, they were sent to Quantico. Okay? Can you think of anywhere else if you have damaged footage, if you're trying to retrieve footage off of any device, your phone, a camera, your laptop, if you're trying to dig up information, where is the one place where you're like, nobody can do it better? If these guys can't do it, it can't be done. I would say Quantico. Like that, like you maybe I know Israel has some is a hot spot for some technology, so you maybe would have a place in Israel where they're maybe even a little bit more sophisticated, but I doubt it. Right? Quantico. I'm going to say Quantico is the place where you send it. So if they come out and they say, "Sorry guys, destroyed," then what that would tell me is don't expect it to pop up later. It can't possibly pop up later because these guys are the best of the best. They have they have the latest and greatest equipment. They've got computer scientists that are ridiculously well trained and can do crazy, amazing things, right? Unless you're talking about some some 15-year-old hacker in his mom's basement. I'm probably not interested in hearing that somebody else could outperform them, right? Like, that's just where I am. So the idea that we suddenly got footage, how? How did we get footage? How is it we got footage when Quantico told us, nah, no such thing? Let's continue on our little. So we go down here. So this is November of 2019, a timeline of what Jeffrey Epstein and his prison guards did in his final hours. All right, we'll skim through this really quickly here. So his arrest and first suicide attempt was July 6th. Okay, that's when he got arrested, pled guilty on July 8th. July 10, he went to the SHU, Special Housing Unit. July 18th, federal judge denies him bail. July 23rd, prison officers find Epstein on the floor of his cell with a strip of bedsheet around his neck. He's subsequently transferred out of SHU and placed on suicide watch in the hospital wing, where he is observed 24 hours a day by staff member or a specially trained inmate companion. He remains on suicide watch for about 24 hours and is transferred to psychological observation, also in the hospital wing. Okay. July 30th, 7 days later, he's transferred back to SHU, required to have an assigned cellmate. July 31st, he goes to court. No visible signs of injury. Okay. Must not have been a good attempt, right? The night of Epstein's death, August 9th, hundreds of pages of court documents are unsealed that allege new details of sexual abuse claims against Epstein and several associates. Several associates. Who are the several people? August 9, a little bit later. So we got 2 August 9. Cellmate transferred out of the prison in a routine prearranged transfer. No new cellmate is assigned. Okay, getting a little odd there, but no big deal. August 9, a little bit later that afternoon, Tova Noel, a 31-year-old officer at MCC, begins the first of 2 back-to-back 8-hour shifts in the SHU. Noel has been employed as a correctional officer since about 2016. Noel and an unnamed officer do not perform the required 4 p.m. institutional count. They complete and sign a count slip falsely saying they did. Okay, so they lied about it. They were like, we're supposed to do our 4 p.m. count. We're just going to say we did. They hand that off. Later, based on the falsified count slip, the control center clears the 4 p.m. count. So they're like, all right, we received the documentation. These guys did their count. August 9, Epstein returns to the SHU from an attorney visit. August 9, let's see, so just around 10 o'clock, all inmates are locked in their cells for the night. Okay. Then at 10 o'clock, Noel and an unnamed officer do not perform the 10 p.m. institutional count. They complete and sign a count slip falsely saying they did. Okay. So now they've lied twice. Okay. They didn't do their job twice. 10:30, Noel briefly walks up, backs to the door in which Epstein is housed. Internal video shows. Okay. So somehow we have video, right? Noel briefly walks up to and walks back to the door to the tier in which Epstein is housed. Okay. We haven't seen that video. Now, I presume this is a different video camera, but I'm just saying, like, this camera was working. This is the last time anyone walks up to the entrance to the area where Epstein was held until around 6:30 a.m. All right. 10:36, based on the falsified count slip, the control center clears the 10 p.m. count. All right. Midnight. Michael Thomas, 41-year-old officer, begins his 8-hour shift. Thomas and Noel, the only 2 correctional officers on duty, do not perform the required 12 a.m. count. They complete and sign a count slip, falsely saying they did. 3 times now. Okay. It's a high-profile prisoner. They failed 3 times. Based on the falsified count slip, control center clears it. 6:30 a.m., they fail to complete any of the required 30-minute rounds in the SHU. Noel completes and signs more than 75 separate 30-minute round entries, falsely saying they conducted the rounds. So they failed 3 times, then 75 more. right? They filed 75 separate 30-minute round entries. 75. All right. Uh-oh. 3 a.m. Do not make the required 3 a.m. count. They complete and sign a count slip policy saying they did. Control center clears it. So that's number 4. The overnight supervisor visits Nolan Thomas in the shoe and confers with him before leaving at 4 a.m. They do not make the required 5 a.m. count. They complete a count slip and falsely say they did. The control center clears that count. 5 times they did not count. Okay? They receive a delivery of breakfast carts to the shoe. They walk up to the tier which Epstein is housed. An alarm is activated. Epstein is alone in his cell, not responsive, with a noose around his neck. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So 75 half-hour counts they didn't do. And then 5 or walkthroughs, I'm sorry, 75 walkthroughs that they were supposed to do. They didn't do any of them. And then they didn't do the 5 counts they were supposed to do. They literally did nothing the whole night. Now, can I believe that? Yes, I can. If you're willing to tell me that you fired them, because there is no way in hell that they failed that many times only on that night, which means this is repeat behavior. This is behavior that should have got them fired. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Is this the one we want? Let's see. Yes, we'll get to that. Jail video surveillance from Jeffrey Epstein's first suicide attempt in July is missing, lawyer says. Wow. How convenient is that? It did supposedly turn up, by the way. Okay. Video, let me zoom in on all this. Video surveillance footage of the jailhouse area outside of accused child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein's cell from the time of his first reported suicide effort is now missing. A lawyer for Epstein, former cellmate, said Wednesday night. Attorneys for the cellmate, an ex-police officer accused by federal prosecutors of 4 murders, had been seeking the video since 2 days after Epstein allegedly tried to kill himself in July. We were told that it was not retained, said one of those. It did end up popping up. So isn't it weird how when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, these videos just keep disappearing and then reappearing? Isn't that kind of weird to you? Like send the whole camera to Quantico and then Quantico has to figure out like, oh, well, sorry. There's nothing we could do about it. But then it gets fun because here, I jumped to this a little earlier. Prosecutors dropped charges against 2 correctional officers in connection with Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, it comes shortly after Epstein associate Maxwell was found guilty. I'm not going to read the article. That's basically the details. So just think about this whole story. The correctional officers supposedly weren't doing their job for one night, just one night, right? Then the night that Jeffrey Epstein happened to die, right? Happened to commit suicide, supposedly. And the cameras, they weren't working. They're sent to Quantico. Quantico's like, yeah, well, sorry, not much we can do with this. Okay, great. Then Trump gets reelected. And all this time, everybody is talking about this because everybody wants to know who are these several associates that CNN reported. I know. CNN, we're not supposed to believe them, right? But nobody was doubting it back then. Nobody was like, man, this reporting is not very good. Like that, there was no several associates. Nobody was saying that back then. Everybody believed it. And whenever you asked anybody in power, they were like, yeah, we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're totally going to find this out, right? Kash Patel, he's like, yeah, we're going to do something about it. Dan Bongino, he said that we're going to do something about it. Then all of a sudden now they're on board. They're like, yeah, there's nothing there. Pam Bondi was like, it's on my desk. And then later she's like, oh yeah, what I meant was there's a file on my desk and it has lots of information in, and I need to review it. Despite the fact that everybody was talking about a client list and I basically acknowledged it. Yeah, that's not really what I was talking about. What I really meant to say was awful lot of convenient things happening with this case. Here's my assessment. Trump needs removed from office. Not just for that. I mean, there's other reasons, like he bombed Iran. That alone would be sufficient. He's not delivering what he said. We didn't get tax cuts. Or I'm sorry, we didn't get the cuts, the Doge cuts. Remember the Doge cuts? We didn't get those. Congress steamed ahead anyway. They passed legislation paying for everything. And then Elon said, F it, I'm done with this. But now I want to start a new party. Right? So I think this should be the cherry on top for why Donald Trump should be removed from office. The American people should absolutely push back and say, unacceptable. And every influencer out there that is playing this, yeah, I'm kind of tired of this, like, whatever, there's bigger fish. Anybody that's saying anything other than, we're not done, we need to get to the bottom of this. They need to, you just need to basically be like, look, not following you anymore. You're not trustworthy. You're as trustworthy as the government. The new media is now the same as the old media. You're in bed with the government when it's convenient for you. When it's your guy, you're in bed with them. That was the problem with like CNN, MSNBC. When it was their guy, they were basically in bed with them, and they would treat him with kid gloves, if any at all. And then when it was the Republican guy, they would come at him like they're supposed to, right? And I'm okay with that. Like media, I've said this before, media should be one day, man, these guys are sounding like Democrats. And then the next day, man, these guys are sounding like Republicans. And then the next day, man, these guys sound like them crazy libertarians, right? We should be seeing media all over the place because they should have no sacred cows. There should be no personalities that they're unwilling to go after. They should be like, yeah, that was my friend, but if he's part of a sex trafficking ring, he ain't no friend of mine, and I will bury him. That's what we should be getting out of the media. But we're not. We're not getting it from the traditional media, and we're not getting it from the new media. We're not getting it from this administration, and nothing makes sense from what any of them are saying. Every single one of them, when you look at all the details, you're like, that doesn't add up. For Trump to all of a sudden be like, I can't believe you guys are still talking about it. Fool, we've been talking about it for years. That's all we've been talking about for years. And I'm willing to bet that I could go dig up comment after comment from Trump that kind of insinuates or outright says he will release that list when he gets into office. So this idea, we've been waiting. You really thought we were going to wait for years and then just be like, oh, there's nothing there? Okay, cool. You thought that? We literally waited for years for this. Who waits for years to only accept that answer? Nobody intelligent. Nobody who's honest. That's who. The dishonest people will wait for years and then be like, yeah, I totally get it. No, here's what should happen. The new media, they should be pushing so hard that they get booted out of the office, right? Out of the White House. Why? Well, what that would do is that would send a signal to everybody that something is up. Because the Trump administration would have one of two choices. They can bring the old media back, right? Or they can have no media. And they will look very bad by keep kicking out media, the new media, who's supposed to be friendly to them, right? That's what, and I know they won't do it because everybody's all like, oh, I don't want to ruin my access. If I kill my access, then guess what? I won't be able to ask them these other questions. Good. Then use that as leverage. Hey, I was asking questions and I got kicked out. I was asking a question that a lot of people really want to know the answer to. Stir up the rage. Otherwise, what good are you? We clearly can't trust our own president. Not that we've ever been able to. Anybody that ever actually trusted him, I don't even know if there's enough help for you. I really don't. So I think just on this, like I know this is like the 47 Weekly. Normally I want to talk about more things, multiple things that Trump has been up to. But I think that this one was so important that it was worth an entire broadcast. And to go through and look and say, look, based on the evidence over time, yeah, we're not buying it. Things aren't adding up. A lot of things aren't like it's way too many conveniences in this one area. And then, not that I'm trying to get the prison guards punished, but I'm just saying, like if you missed 5 all 5 of your counts during your shift, and then you missed what I would assume to be all 75 of your walkthroughs, that says you're very comfortable in your job and you know what you have to do and what you don't and what you can get away with. Right. And that didn't start on day. That's not the first time you've done that, which means you're a repeat offender, which means you are not trustworthy to be a guard anymore. And you should have been fired. If nothing else, at least fired. Like, hey, we looked through our other records that weren't mysteriously destroyed. And then guess what? We found out you didn't do those checks either. So therefore, you're not doing the job we're paying you for. And on top of that, you ended up, because of your negligence, again, assuming the story is true, because of your negligence, a high-profile man killed himself. But I don't think it was their negligence. I have no idea what happened. I'll admit that. We could speculate all over the place. These guys were just lazy, and then powers that be knew about it, and they used that to their advantage. You could speculate that these guys were, that they were specifically told not to go, look and not to say anything, that they would be charged. They could be told that. There's any number of. I'm not going to engage in the conspiracy on how things happen, but clearly something happened, and nobody seems to be getting punished for it. I mean, we can't even punish the guards who allowed it to happen. And we're definitely not punishing the several associates that was reported. And go look. I'm sure you will find other official sources that say there was more than one associate that was in on this. So we want to know who they are. No, Pam Bondi, we don't want to see the child porn. And if you actually believe that, I need that video from Full Metal Jacket where Sergeant Gunny is like, choke yourself. And he like puts his hand out, and then like the private, whatever, I can't think of his name at the moment, but the guy that ends up killing himself, he tries to grab that, and he's like, no, you lean into it, you choke yourself, right? like I need that video sometimes, because that's how I feel when people try to tell me BS. And then it's so obvious that it's BS. And, and you're going to over here suggest that what we really want to see is the videos. Like, metaphorically, you should be slapped for even suggesting that. The American people do not want to see child porn. Be nice. Goose fraba. We do not want to see porn. We do not want to see children get abused. What we want to see are the perpetrators punished for it. That is what we want. And you have not delivered. All right, folks, that's my show. Let's check out some comments here real quick, and then we will head on out. So, quite a few comments here. So let's take a look. And I'm going to try to do it right this time. Okay, folks. Rumble C. Pete says, good morning to you, sir. Appreciate you joining in. Let's see. Time surfing alien awful. No, not awful. Also says good morning. So good morning to you as well. Let's see. Yes, my VA lady is like, wow, your producer is a smart lady. Yes, she is. Sometimes gives me a little too hard of a time. Just saying. If she happens to be listening. Okay. Just teasing. Big surprise there, I say sarcastically, with Trump on it. I knew it wouldn't see the light of day. I know, right? Like, who really believed that we were going to get this? I didn't believe this. I was like, yeah, we're probably not going to. That's why I said, I was like, after I saw Pam Bondi on Sean Hannity's show, I was like, we're going to get something either nothing or we're going to get something full of black lines. Let's see what else we got in here. Talked about for years, just like Trump asked for Obama birth certificate for years. Hey, Kettle, you're black, said the pot. Yes, absolutely. He talked about it for years. We talked about this for years. We want to see it. Let's see what else we got in here. Absolutely. Trump will deny everything and the Trump tards will believe him. They absolutely will. Like he could kill somebody on, I think that's the statement. It's like I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and I could get away with it. Well, he's done something similar. He's at least, at a bare minimum, allowed a whole bunch of victims to go without justice. And he's getting away with it. Let's see. Didn't Trump run on getting down to the bottom of Epstein? How convenient they pulled Bongino to the administration. He used to talk about Epstein all the time when he had his podcast. Yeah, a lot of people did. A lot of people did. They were big talkers. They're like, oh, we're going to get to this. Okay, so Rumble just How about that? Okay, so Rumble did a thing. I apologize, folks. Rumble broke on me, and then I refreshed. That's all my only option. And so wherever I was in the comments, I cannot get to any further ones. So I apologize. This one's not on me. It's not my fault. This is a technical issue for which I have no control over. But anyway, all right. So, well, I guess since that killed the live chat, I will just end the show. Thank you guys for joining me. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this episode informative and inspiring. Be sure to catch me Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. for an informed discussion on politics and culture. Make sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, or if you prefer my Rumble channel, you can go to youtube.libertydad.com, or you can go to rumble.libertydad.com. While you are there, let me know how I'm doing by leaving me a comment. You can also become part of the community by heading over to libertydad.locals.com. Remember, if you're a champion of liberty, your business is people and your product is liberty. I want you to have a great week. Catch you next time. But for now, I'm out.